Hello and welcome to Move or Improve. I'm Debbie Miller, your host, and today I want to talk about something that comes up frequently. I've been working with seniors and adult children for many years now, and many sons and daughters ask me about caring for their parents, and they're coming in almost clueless about what to ask these retirement communities about caring for their parents. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and I thought I would just share that with you today. So if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s and you're worried about your mom and dad, and they don't seem to be able to stay in their home anymore, or they don't want to stay in their home, they want to move to a new community while they still have their good health, this is for you. It's a guide, questions you should ask, and what to think about. But, many times it's a planned move, and I've helped hundreds of seniors move out of their home into a retirement community. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's an emergency that's forced on them because mom or dad fell and now they require assisted living, for example. And you get the call that says, hey, your mom is ill. She's in the hospital now. She has to be transferred. You need to make some decisions. Well, that can catch you off guard if you're not prepared. And it's an emotional aspect to it too, but that's hard enough. But then the lack of knowledge about communities that have the right environment and care for your parents is very traumatic and very stressful. And I've been in this situation myself many years ago. I was caring for parents, in-laws, and two sets of aunts and uncles who had no children. And so I know how stressful it can be. And back then, I really didn't have the resources that are available today. But I knew that if I was having trouble finding information and making the transition easier, then other baby boomers like myself would go through that too. And that's why I want to pass along some things for you to ask that you might not know to ask. It's good to sit down with your parents and talk to them about making a move while they enjoy good health. It may be hard though. They may not want to talk about it, and that happens a lot. Many parents do resist making a decision. If that's the case, then the decision will most likely fall on your shoulders, and you'll have to talk to the doctors and the nurses and the staff, and you'll be hit with all these decisions to be made. Other parents may have been thinking about it, but they're hesitant to discuss the matter or their feelings about it. So you, as the adult child, need to be ready to listen and empathize. You don't want to force the subject on them, but if you know how a new lifestyle can help them, then by all means talk to them about it. They may be having trouble taking care of a big house. They don't need all the space, and steps may be an issue, and maybe they've made some accommodations to stay in the home, but now there's more to think about. And so you want to talk about a number of different things, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. First of all, you'll need to decide what kind of community is best for your parents, and there are a variety of types. Mostly they are broken down into not-for-profit, operated by religious, charitable, fraternal, or community organizations. And then there's the for-profit communities, and they're owned and operated by individuals, partnerships, or corporate entities. And then there are government-owned communities. Growing in popularity are the life plan communities. They were formerly called CCRCs, or continuing care retirement communities. And you may see that if you're doing a Google search. You may see the term CCRC and just know that life plan communities are the same as CCRCs. The nice thing about a continuing care or life plan community is that all stages of your parents' lives are accommodated in one facility. Generally, they must be able to live independently when they arrive. They have to be able to walk through the door on their own. But they also have assisted living, memory care, hospice, all the different aspects of their life can be part of the plan. There may be cottages, apartments, duplexes, depending on what the community offers and what your parents can afford. Now, you can also look into renting If they're unable to live independently, then assisted living will be an option to consider because they can't do it on their own. Just remember that not all communities provide the same level of service, so you'll need to find out what is and isn't included. Then you want to find out what is the mission of the community. Is it religious-based, nonprofit? Those kinds of communities will have a different approach than a for-profit community. Each one's approach to senior care would be reflected on their website, so that will help you in your Google search. Their attitude will tell you a lot about what your parents and you can expect. For-profit facilities have what I call a heads in the bed bottom line that nonprofits don't always have. Another thing you're going to have to decide is the location. Is it better to have your parents move closer to where you live so you can visit frequently and keep an eye on things? Does the area where you live have a facility close to you that will provide the care they need? And if not, what facility is close to where they live that would afford them the proper care near where they are now? So, do your parents like to go out and eat, play golf, visit museums? They may not be able to drive much longer, but a facility should be able to provide access to transportation to those places that they love. Just because they're older doesn't mean they need to stay home all day. And if they can still travel, their new home should be close to public transportation, like an airport, train, or bus, so they can come visit you. Many communities provide shuttle service to the grocery store and to shopping and the like. And the community will also plan day trips to various sites, and that makes it easier for your parents to get out and about. So when you actually start visiting, what impression do you get when you visit the first time? Are the staff happy to see you? Are the inside and outside spaces welcoming, easy to navigate? Is there enough lighting in the hallways and common areas? Outdoor areas like elevated gardens and places to sit, play cards are a welcome feature. Some places will have art rooms where they can go in for crafts and things like that. Some places will have woodworking workshops that people can go and build furniture. Talking with the staff is another way to gain a different perspective as to what life is like in a particular community. If the staff is happy, they'll be positive in their day-to-day responsibilities. But you want to ask about the retention rate of staff. How long does staff stay? What training is provided for them, and are the salaries competitive enough that they will want to stay? That's going to tell you a lot, because turnover is not good, because the older person, the older resident, has gotten used to seeing the same person come to check on them or to help them or in the hallway doing whatever. And if they see new people all the time, it can be unnerving. And you also want to ask what levels or types of service are available. Your parents won't have the same needs as others, and not all communities provide the same services. Do they need help with personal care, assisted living, skilled nursing care? Do they have early signs of dementia or memory loss? Most facilities will have housekeeping, but do they provide sophisticated internet so that you can talk to your parents on FaceTime or whatever? And you want to find out if there's additional fees and what those fees are, and what additional services are available if your parents' needs change. Do they have to have a residency agreement that should disclose personal care and support services, all the fees, move-in, move-out provisions? That should all be provided to you as well. And what is the policy if they want to transfer out? Let's say they get in there and they spend the first 6 months and they're just not happy, or something happens and you have to transfer them to another location. What is the policy for getting refunds of the amount that you put in? What is the process for resolving issues that arise? What does the facility provide? Do they provide the sheets and towels, or do the residents have to bring them? What does the resident actually bring? If they're eating meals in a common area, they won't necessarily need as many pots and pans or cooking supplies. So that's certainly something else to think about. Another important thing to check on is one of the biggest things you may not know about is that neither federal nor state guidelines require licensed senior living communities to be accredited. So you definitely want to Google to see what state guidelines are for the area you're considering. Depending on the state, they will tell you. May be an eye opener, and that may help you in your decision. One state may be better as far as accreditation than another state. But you want to ask for information on each community's accreditation process and what do they do to ensure quality control, not only of the facility, but also the staff. And speaking of staff, you want to find out the ratio of staff to residents. That's very important. Obviously, skilled nursing requires a tighter ratio. Does the staff have ample time to spend with the residents? Do they know their names? How does the staff notify the family about issues that arise? Who is allowed to administer medications? Can the resident take their medications on their own? Or does the staff have to come in and help them? Does the staff have criminal background checks done? And what kind of training is available to staff for elder abuse and neglect, both from staff and residents? That's very important. Another thing you're going to want to ask about is the emergency preparedness. What steps are in place to ensure the safety of the resident in case of emergency? Evacuation in a hurricane, testing procedures during a pandemic, how often and what kind of procedures and what kind of tests are performed on staff? What happens if they have something wrong? Has the staff been through the background check? How much experience do they have working with seniors? And then another thing to think about is what plans are in place for evacuation in case of fire. Does each resident have an individualized plan of care? That's very important. You don't want to be put into a group where everybody's treated the same. Each person is different. How are the families and potential residents included in preparing the plan? What plans are in place if there's a medical emergency that can't be handled on site? Is there a medical doctor on staff or on call? How many nurses are available? And if they need hospitalization, which hospital is the one that your parents will be taken to if it's needed? Those are all things to consider. Do they allow pets? Many seniors have dogs or cats they want to bring with them to their new home. Some communities won't allow pets. Some will welcome all pets. Others allow certain pets but have restrictions on size, for example, or the kind, and they'll charge extra fees perhaps. So you want to make sure if your mom and dad have a dog or a cat or some pet that they want to bring with them, that it can be accommodated comfortably in the new place. An obvious and important point to discuss is the affordability. Now, what are the entrance fees? Some places have them and they can be pretty stiff. Other places don't have them. What are the monthly fees? And what services are included in the monthly fee? How are meals handled? Is there a daily or weekly budget your parents can use to pay for the meals or snacks? Some places will say, well, you have $30 or $40 a day to use up in your meal plan, and so you can skip breakfast, have breakfast in your apartment, and come down for lunch and dinner, or some variety of things. You want to talk about meals and snacks. Now, how does the bill get paid, the monthly bills? What if mom and dad run out of money? You also want to ask if you're liable for any unpaid bills yourself, because that can make a difference on your finances as well. And if your parents pass away while they're in the community's care, how much time do they give you to clear out the apartment? What happens if mom and dad move into an independent living apartment to